Hey guys, watching the replay. You're joining me for part 2. So when I gathered up my emotional oils, can you see what color all these are? They're all purple. So here's the other ones that I have over here. These are emotional oils too. But all these are purple. Present time, build your dream, hope, Sarah. Purple, right? Not a coincidence. Let's see, live with passion, into the future, transformation, sacred mountain, highest potential, magnify your purpose. Hello from Evans, Georgia. Where are you guys from? Give me a shout out. Envision, yeah, Valor's in here. Gratitude, grounding, lavender, valor, forgiveness, release, inner child, joy, and harmony. That's not in here. So I had this playing earlier today on my scope, and it's by Bethel, and it's No Longer Slaves. If you haven't heard it, as soon as the scope is done, you need to go listen to it because it's incredible. Talking about no longer a slave to fear. Hey, I'll let you see my face. Yeah, no longer a slave to fear, which again, if you listened earlier, she talked about that last night. Okay, I'm not going to sing though. Such a good song. I might play this like nonstop for the next couple days because when you're trying to change your mind and change your thought patterns and your thought life and the way that you think about things, it's a process. It's not going to be instant. All right, so I actually wanted to go over like what the class was about because earlier today I talked a lot about what I got from the class and how it pertained to my life, but I didn't really talk about a lot about what she said. So I wanted to try and be very succinct tonight in 20 minutes, give you what she talked about in almost 2 hours, and go through the slides now that I can see them. They're not minuscule on my computer screen. And really just give you some of the facts and the science that she talked about because it was so interesting. So the things that she wanted to talk about last night, her objectives, she wanted to establish emotions as measurable things, and she gets into that a little bit later, show how toxic emotions affect a person, connect essential oil chemistry to the releasing and managing of toxic emotions, and show practical application using the Young Living Feelings Kit. So feel free to swipe up or to the side and invite your peeps. I do have a catch.me account, so it's catch.me /JustJacobs117, and that's where all my scopes are, and that's free for you to go to. And Vanessa Stegner is the person that did the class last night, so go find her on Periscope. She's got a ton of really good stuff. All right, so that's what the class was intended to do last night, and let's move on here. There it is. Hey, thanks for inviting your people. All right, so one of the quotes that she said last night that was amazing says, when an illness is part of your spiritual journey, no medical intervention can heal you until your spirit has begun to make the changes that the illness was designed to inspire. And this is where she was talking about the mind, body, and soul connection. And so many times we're supposed to learn something. And I don't believe that God makes us sick in order for us to learn a lesson. But sometimes we can be stuck in something because we haven't learned the lesson we're supposed to learn. And for me, I have been stuck in a lot of fear and anxiety and worry. And while I might be able to find some help somewhere else, I can learn a lesson right now. And I can learn a lesson that I don't have to let that fear control me. I don't have to let that anxiety control me. I can change my mind. I can change the way I think. I can change what I'm meditating on. And I can see physical changes by doing that. And that's some of the stuff she talked about, the science that she talked about last night, was that by changing what you think about, you can literally change what is happening in your body. So, like I said, God doesn't make you sick, but you can learn things while you are sick. Okay, so it all starts with a thought. Thoughts are real things. A lot of times we, have a thought and you might not pay attention to it, but sometimes you dwell on it and it becomes, it is a real thing. So chemical reactions, neuropeptides, which are biochemicals of emotions that course through the body and can be found in cells. So thoughts produce chemical reactions in your brain. messenger molecules that talk to the body about what to do, and electromagnetic waves that would sound like an orchestra if you could hear them. And so she was just talking about chemically what happens in your brain when you have thoughts. And they've mapped, brains and looked at all different kinds of scans. And again, if you do not have this book, but you're really interested in the science behind all this, Caroline Leaf is an awesome person to go find. She is from South Africa, maybe. She has a really thick accent, and she talks, I want it, stay. Oh, stat. Yes. Amazon, you can have it in 2 days, right? Or pay like $4 for shipping. Psh, who does that? And have it tomorrow. But she has a ton of good stuff, and she has a new one. She just spoke at our church this last May, and she was talking about, and I think it's called Change Your Mind. Anyway, she has some awesome stuff. Oh yeah, half price, you could get it right away too. But go on her website, because she's got like TV shows and stuff, and she's on Facebook. I bet she's got some things that you could go watch. She talks really fast, she's really smart, and she has a thick accent. So a lot of times I just have to sit and listen, like I can't take notes when I watch Caroline Leaf. Yeah, see, so Jana's telling you that there's a ton of videos on her website and Facebook and stuff like that. So go look her up. She's so fascinating because she does brain research, and so she looks at all different types of electromagnetic waves and different kinds of mapping and all this kind of stuff. And she studies how the brain reacts to emotions and all these different things. So last night, Vanessa was just trying to show that, oh, cool, Instagram, 2 for big blips. I'm guessing you're talking about Caroline Leaf, right, Amory? Anyway, so she was just talking about how thoughts actually produce, thoughts actually produce like chemical reactions in our brain. So they are real things. And sometimes we don't like think of them, small blips of info. Okay, you said big, and I was like, I thought you could only do like 15 seconds on Instagram. So the small blips of info on Caroline Leaf's Instagram. So then earlier I mentioned that she talked about the opposite of love is actually not anger, it's actually fear. And so those two are opposites, and we were created for love. I mentioned this morning as well, that even little bitty babies, that have only been in this world for hours are wired for love. They want to be held. They want the mother's heartbeat soothes them. And, they've done studies on, babies that have been left alone and not touched and held, and they have a failure to thrive a lot of times, and they don't grow, and they have low birth weight, even though they'll be fed the same number of calories as another baby that's being held and loved, but they have a failure to thrive. And so that, from the very beginning, we are wired for love. We are not wired for fear. She puts in, like I said, like scripture all throughout. They were awesome. Emotions produce good attitudes, or they can, and health-producing chemicals in the body. For example, serotonin. So when you have good emotions going on, again, there is a chemical reaction that happens in your body that produces good things in the rest of it happens in your brain that helps your body, and you become healthier because of it. So in the same way, negative things can produce negative hormones and chemicals and reactions in the brain that can damage the body. Hate, worry, anxiety, anger, hostility, rage, resentment, frustration, impatience, and irritation, all of these produce toxic chemicals which produce toxic responses in the body and change information on the template of the DNA. That's crazy. Literally, like bad thoughts can change your DNA because those toxic things can imprint on the DNA and change it. That's crazy how powerful, your thoughts can be. And again, you can change your mind. You can decide not to think about something. You can decide, you can't always decide not to feel something, and feelings are not bad. We talked about that earlier. Anger is not bad. Sadness is not bad. Loneliness is not bad. Feelings are just messengers. And how to help change them. Yes. Okay, so part of it is talking through things. Okay, why are you mad? Well, they hit me. Okay, so what does that make you feel? And like starting discussions with children about what they're feeling and why they're feeling it, and getting down to, well, they did something to me and it hurt my feelings. And, okay, so what can you do about it? That's something that I ask my kids a lot. What can you do about it? And you can ask them to stop, but if they don't, then what? Okay, well, ultimately, you only have control over yourself. And this is something that I did not learn for a very long time and had a lot of messed up relationships because of it, because I was under the impression that I could change someone else. And that is never the case. You can never change another person. And the more you try, the more frustrated you'll become, and the bigger the control complex will be, and the more work you have to do later. So like I talk with my kids, I'm like, okay, can you control someone else? Well, no, you can ask them to stop, but if they don't, can you make them stop? Well, no. So what can you do? Well, I can walk away. Exactly. That is something that you can do. That I have control over myself, so I can walk away from the situation. Or, if it's bad, I can come tell you, like some of those kinds of things, and empowering them, not to try and change someone else, but to take control of their own life. So when talking about feelings and things, I think it's important, not to shame them and not to tell them that their feelings are wrong. You always want to validate feelings of a child. If they're feeling scared or they're feeling angry or they're feeling whatever they're feeling, it's important that you validate those feelings, but then you can talk about the thoughts that they're having. And thoughts are different than feelings. Thoughts produce feelings. And again, feelings are not bad, but talking about what they're thinking in their mind, and there's a difference between those two things. And so, okay, if they're thinking, well, I'm thinking he's stupid. Well, we don't want to think that, that's not nice. Do you want people thinking that about you? Well, no. Okay, so let's speak nice things over them. And you can teach them at a very young age to start speaking love and speaking truth, especially if you can get into that area of self-talk with your kids and getting them to understand what it is they're thinking about themselves. And this is where oils can be really, really helpful. And Vanessa talked a little bit about this last night, but oils can really help unlock things that we don't really know are there. Because they chemically work in our brain, they can help bring things to our mind that, again, we don't realize. And she talked about with kids, a really good way to do that is through art. So, let's say they got their feelings hurt really bad, or, they're just crying and they don't know why, or something like that. I would put some oils on them and maybe stress away, valor, joy. They don't have to be, forgiveness and, all these like heavier oils, but if you have them, you can totally use them. So I would put just some oils like that on them and then say, hey, why don't we sit down and draw a picture? Yeah, believe, any of those things. Let's sit down and draw a picture, and say, okay, can you draw a picture about how that made you feel? Or, can you draw a picture about what hurt? Or, even just how you're feeling. And they might use a lot of dark colors, dark things like that. And then just talk about it with them, because a lot of times they don't know how to verbalize things, but they can show it on a piece of paper. And obviously this is going to depend on how old your kid is. My 4-year-old probably is not going to be that deep of a conversation, but my 8-year-old, maybe. What if they don't enjoy art? Well, they don't necessarily have to draw. Maybe they enjoy building things with Legos. And like find what they enjoy. Maybe it's they want to paint with their fingers, or I don't know. That's just like, I would maybe look up play therapy. Play-Doh, or find whatever their medium is and whatever speaks to them and whatever they can emote through. And again, when they're younger, it's not going to be super, deep, but giving them a chance to express themselves and to help them find words for things is a really good idea. And again, the oils are really helpful with that. The oils can help them calm down to a place where maybe they can find words. So we have been amazed at how well the oils have worked on our kids when they're just having one of those like something took over my child moments, like, who are you? We put oils on them, and I'm not kidding, within like 2 minutes they are back to themselves, like, oh, thank you, you are my child, because I don't know who that other person was, but that was not my child. And again, it helps them calm down. And the thing that I have to remind myself is like, okay, that doesn't mean that we can forget what happened. Go back and revisit it. Like, hey, what happened back there? And maybe it's not going to be, at a restaurant, you're not going to like immediately, ask them, but like on the way home or as you're putting them to bed, like ask them, hey, what happened? Why did you get so upset? What was it that, made you start crying, or, and that's where you kind of have to tailor your questions to how old your kid is. But revisit the situation later and see if you can, again, help them find words to express what they're feeling, so that maybe later on they'll be able to verbalize some of that. So that was one of the things, again, she talked about like the play therapy and the drawing or the art stuff. And that's been something that my girls have done when we've gone to grief camp. We lost a son 3 years ago. He was 2.5. And so at this grief camp, they will do exercises where they will draw, or they will, build things or color. And that's how they kind of express where they're at in the grief process. And so anyway, art's always good for kids. Okay, so back to the whole love and fear thing. When you have bad thoughts and you're dwelling on those, that literally produces toxic responses in your brain. Hi, Hannah. All right, so here's the next one. Flip the switch. Okay, this is what I shared earlier. This was amazing. 87% of illness can be attributed to our thought life. Okay? 87% of illness can be attributed to our thought life. And approximately 13% to diet, genetics, and environment. Oh my goodness. We spend 95% of our time looking at diet and genetics and environment. But really, we need to be looking at our thought life and what it is we're thinking about and what it is we're meditating on. Yes, she's amazing. Amazing. She has found so much cool stuff. Studies conclusively link more chronic diseases, also known as lifestyle diseases, to an epidemic of toxic emotions in our culture. Hey, Benjamin. Toxic emotions in our culture. And I would say this to be toxic thoughts, because again, your feelings are not wrong, but it's what you do with them. And a lot of times we associate thoughts to feelings. So if I'm feeling sad and, I don't like that, I might start thinking about things, and I might start doing things like creating an inner vow. I don't ever want to feel like that again. So I'm going to do whatever I can not to feel like that. And then we start to do unhealthy things, and we start to think unhealthy things. So if we can learn that our feelings are not bad, and our feelings are just messengers, they're trying to tell us something. And so if we can get to the bottom, those thoughts that produce those feelings, that's what we need to deal with, is those toxic thoughts. A lot of times it's that I'm not good enough, or that I'm not worthy is not the right word. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm less than. That's what it was that our counselor always talked about, like feeling less than. So many times. Take every thought captive. You have control over your thoughts. You don't always have control over what you're feeling. Have you ever been like doing something and all of a sudden probably girls more than boys, but you just like burst out crying and you're like, oh my gosh, why am I crying right now? Like you're so mad, you start crying and you're like, wait a minute, that's backwards. You can't always control your feelings, but you can control your thoughts. And speaking things out loud, if you are feeling less than, like you are not worth, whatever, you can start speaking the truth. You can start speaking, I am enough. I am a child of God. I am no longer a slave to fear. You can speak the truth, and that does so much, because all of a sudden your mind starts to change. And this is where Caroline Leaf has done so much of her research, in that it literally starts to create chemicals, and it starts to change the synapses and, the electrical things that, like they were going negative and now they switched to a positive direction. She didn't say that. I just made that up, but you understand. So anyway, what Vanessa was saying is that so many of these lifestyle diseases, and I'm not going to name any of them because I don't want to go there. I don't want to make anybody feel bad, but, and she said at the beginning too, like you have a lot more freedom when you talk about oils and emotions, but there are still, like, I'm not going to name any diseases, because there are some times where you need outside help, and you have got to get your body to a place where you can think straight. And I have experienced just a little bit of this where I couldn't think straight, like I could not snap out of it. And what I realized is some of the reason for that was because I hadn't let anybody in. So many times these mental illnesses and these things, and again, I'm not talking about, anything in particular. All I'm talking about is thought patterns and tapes that you play over in your head. So many times we don't let anybody else in, and we're not able to speak truth to those things. That's a good question. Oh, Caroline Leaf. Who switched off my brain? There you go. She'll name them. At the bottom here it says Who Switched Off My Brain by Caroline Leaf. So it'll be in her book, I bet. I can hear the echo out there, babe. It's really distracting. I can hear the echo. No, thanks. What? The spaghetti sauce. There's some out in the garage. Hubby's cooking dinner tonight. Okay, so much of the time, these things, these tapes that we play. Oh, okay, so here's something else that we learned in counseling. Sometimes the messenger or the message that the feeling is trying to bring is that you need truth spoken back to you. And this was like, there were only like 3 or 4 messages that I'll say the feelings that we associate to be bad. There's only about 3 or 4 things that they're trying to tell you. And usually you made someone too important. You're believing a lie, and you need truth reflected back to you. Okay, you believing a lie and needing truth reflected back to you are huge, 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 huge. Okay, so let me explain. If I'm really upset about something, and let's say I sit down and I, take the time, maybe not in the moment, but maybe later that day to try and figure out, okay, why was I so angry about that situation? And I start to think about it and think about, what was I really feeling? Yeah, I was angry, but what was I really feeling? Well, I was feeling abandoned. Okay, why was I feeling abandoned? And okay, this is a great time to apply some of these feeling oils and to say, okay, God, show me why I was feeling abandoned. So many times putting these oils on is going to unlock things in our mind that we have probably completely forgotten about, and can show you a specific scenario where something happened that you felt abandoned, or that you felt like somebody was taking advantage of you, or whatever the case may be. Identifying what it is you're really feeling, not just the, lies women believe. Yeah, that's a really good one too. Is that, shoot, can't think of her name. Lisa Bevere? Is that who that one does? Or Joyce Meyer? One of those two? So needing truth reflected back to you. A lot of times you can't do that yourself. Sometimes you can. Sometimes if you can get to the bottom of it, sometimes God will show you exactly when that old hurt happened, and you can pray about it. You can give it to Him. You can read scripture. You can speak the truth, knowing that I'm not, worthless. I am not, I am worthy, those kinds of things. But sometimes you need someone else to reflect truth back to you. And this is where, if you have a spouse, this is one of the things that if you are willing to let them in, this is an amazing role that they can play in your life. And again, they're not meant to meet all your needs. We talked about this morning a little bit. However, they can reflect truth back to you. And this was something that kind of came out this morning in a restaurant with me and Jason, and I told him some things that I had been believing, and he's like, well, that's not true. And he started reflecting truth back to me. And sometimes you're like, well, I know it's not true, but that's just where my mind went. But now that I've told him those things, I'm probably more likely to be able to tell him those things while they're happening. Where I used to kind of suffer in silence and he had no idea what was going on, now that I have been vulnerable with him and told him, like, this is what I'm struggling with when this happens, now in that moment I can say, okay, this is what I'm struggling with. Will you pray with me? Or will you speak truth to me? And hearing somebody else say it and you repeating it and saying it. And this is something else. You can get your kids to speak truth. Again, they don't have to believe it. They don't have to feel it. But speaking it out loud over and over and over can start to change your brain and can start to change the way that your brain is wired. Okay, tangent. So let's get back to these things. Chemicals and electricity, and hormones and frequency. Okay, whether your thoughts are toxic or positive, they are represented in the body as electrochemical reactions. Again, thoughts produce chemical reactions in the brain. Endocrine is chemical, and nervous is electrical. Yes, I know, and that is so hard. And there are periods of time where, she said we need to communicate well with one another. There are periods of time where we do good, and then we get lazy and we don't. And so that's something we always have to work on. Okay, so endocrine is chemical, that's hormone stuff, and then nervous is electrical, and that's typically stuff in your brain, right? Your hypothalamus and your pituitary are both located in your brain. That's a really huge part of the endocrine system, okay? That is what controls the hormones being produced in your body. Your adrenals are also a big part of your endocrine system, and that is where cortisol is produced, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. So here's some examples. The hypothalamus of the endocrine, it's called the heart of the endocrine system, responds to your thought life. It's in your brain. Hypothalamus and pituitary are both in your brain. So those are going to respond to your thought life. And because thoughts can change your hypothalamus and your pituitary, those things that send hormones to the rest of your body, you literally can change that by changing your thoughts. So crazy. This is what totally stuck with me last night, because I've been having issues with my endocrine system. And yeah, my adrenals are part of that, but I knew that the hypothalamus and pituitary is connected to that. And so realizing that by changing my thoughts, I can affect my hypothalamus and my pituitary, which in turn affects my adrenals. I'm not a victim. I can do something about this. I don't have to feel crappy. I don't have to feel like I'm going to die, 3 times a month like that. No, it is not okay. And I do not have to take this. So positive, serotonin, endorphins, and there's another hormone that's produced, causes intellect to flourish and strengthen positive feedback loops in the brain and body, in the form of attitudes, frequency, and energy. Oh gosh, I can't read this. It also is something in the cells. It raises your frequency. Okay, just thoughts can raise your frequency 10 megahertz. Prayer can raise your frequency 15 megahertz. Prayer and meditation. So, have you ever heard that you can pray over your oils? Praying over your oils can help increase their frequency. Okay? One of the things you're never supposed to do is heat your oils, right? So sometimes they get left in a hot car, something like that. Gary Young says that the oils are alive and they will return to the correct frequency. Same thing with x-ray machines, at the airport and stuff. You can send your oils through. They are alive. They will regenerate. They will come back. It will probably lower their frequency for just a little bit. But what you can do is you can pray over them and they will regain their frequency faster. It is scientifically proven. It's so cool. So again, positive thoughts increase your frequency. High frequency means that it is less of an environment for viruses and bacteria and things to live. All of those things live at a very low frequency. So you want to raise the frequency of your body, okay? So by good thoughts, prayer and meditation, using high frequency oils, you can help to raise the frequency of your body and therefore have better wellness. Such good stuff. All right, so we talked about the positives, the serotonin, the endorphin, and the other things. Again, you can literally think positive thoughts and create those hormonal responses in your body. On the other hand, CRH, ACTH, cortisol, and adrenaline, I know there's so many boom moments in this. Those cortisol and adrenaline affect the cells, disrupt DNA, nerve cells shrink, they disrupt memory, attitudes, patterns, lowered frequency, and disrupts energy in the body. Negative thoughts are at 12 megahertz, lower your frequency, 12 megahertz. So you can be healthier just by thinking positive thoughts. Totally free. How great is that, right? I just gave you a free feel better card. Positive thoughts literally raise your frequency, negative thoughts lower your frequency. So quit thinking negative thoughts. Okay? You can control your thoughts. You can choose not to think something. So she was talking about cortisol, which cortisol is produced in the adrenals. Cortisol is very useful, but in high doses is extremely toxic for your body. And high doses for a long amount of time, your adrenals can get exhausted and they can quit producing cortisol, and that's really bad. And again, high cortisol levels are typically stress induced. Smell some oils, people. Again, you don't even have to apply the oils, just smell the bottle. It's practically free, right? Smell the oils. Again, that's going to help to raise your frequency. Start speaking positive things. Such good stuff. Okay, next one. One of the quotes from Who Switched Off My Brain. The thought you are thinking right now is impacting every single one of the 75 to 100 trillion cells in your brain and body at quantum speeds. It's very scientific. The thoughts you are thinking are affecting every cell in your body. So be careful about what you think. What are you meditating on? It literally will change your body. Thoughts produce emotions, emotions produce attitudes. There's a book called Molecules of Emotion. It's by Candace Pert. She's a neuroscientist. And she says the information molecules carry is literally photocopied of the thoughts formulated in the depths of the memory networks of the brain, creating a link between mind and body. This is where, like, what you think about can literally affect you physically. Like, you can literally have physical symptoms because of what you're thinking about. And this is what Caroline Leaf was talking about, the diseases. So many times we make ourselves sick because of what we're thinking about. Creating a link between the mind and body information molecules are then able to make changes at the cellular level, restructuring the cell's makeup on the outside and the DNA on the inside. You can literally change your DNA by what you think about. Garbage in, garbage out. We must put good stuff in to get good out. That's so true. This is how diseases are able to take hold in the body and patterns are formed with negative thoughts and emotions. So many times when you start to like make that groove, make that rut, when you start to think about something over and over, or you start to think the same thing, and again, anxiety, fear, you start to do that. And before long, you just naturally fall into that. And that's where these patterns are happening. And because the groove, is so deep and you just naturally think that, you have literally changed your DNA. And this is where I mentioned at the beginning, like, I'm going to have to be listening to things on a constant basis, reading things, watching things that are building up, my spirit and the truth and the things that I should be watching and listening and hearing and believing, because I realize that the grooves that I have made, while certain times they can just be, instantaneously fixed, I'm going to have to make a concentrated effort to think differently. But how awesome. I don't even have to take a pill for that. I just have to be conscious about what I'm thinking about. Totally free therapy, right? So then she had a really cool picture of the brain. She talked about some different parts of the brain and where some things are created. She talked about the olfactory bulb, okay, the limbic system. The olfactory bulb is in the limbic system. And this is where essential oils come into play. Smelling an oil literally is the only way to get to the limbic system. Okay, smelling, your sense of smell, okay, I've read that it's the only way to get to the limbic system, but I know it's the quickest for sure. It reaches the brain in just seconds. It activates the olfactory bulb. In 1989, it was discovered that the amygdala, and this is a part of the brain, plays a major role in the storing and releasing of emotional trauma. Hello, essential oils. We all have trauma. Okay? Trauma does not have to be something major. It can be, but it can be something minor that just affected us in a way that hurt us and that we held on to it and we never dealt with it. Okay? The only way to stimulate this gland is with fragrance or the sense of smell. So I was right. Smell is the only way to activate that. And so putting oils on, smelling oils, putting them in the diffuser, that literally can activate that part of the brain, and that's the only way you can do that. So if you are at a place in life where you realize that you probably are holding on to some things, okay, meaning if you're older than like, a month, you probably are holding on to some things now, obviously, but I would challenge you, especially even with your kids, like, start diffusing things, start putting things on them. And one of the things she said, you probably shouldn't do this before bedtime, both for yourself or for your kids, because sometimes, you might try like lavender or valor before you go to bed, but I probably wouldn't do some of the heavier ones right before bed. Some people have had really good experiences with dreams. They've gotten memories and things back that, I need to forgive that person, or, that's what it is I've been holding on to, or this is what has me stuck. But sometimes they can, make you think of things that you don't want to be dreaming about all night. So, I would try it maybe not before bedtime, unless you've done it before. So that is how oils can help. They can help to unlock things that you have forgotten about, but your body has not. And again, they're not going to like make you forgive someone. And this is where, you know, sometimes people get really weirded out about the emotional oils. They're not going to force you to do anything, but they are literally going to unlock things in your brain that you then have the option to deal with. And you are still going to have to, you know, work through some of those things. You might still have to forgive someone. And, you know, there are things out there that you can do to work through that. Limbic system, again, there was another slide that Lori Gordon made that was great. Cells have memory, okay? They remember things, even if you don't. The gateway into each cell's memory are called receptor sites, and each cell has thousands of these receptor sites. Dr. David Stewart describes it well. His stuff is amazing. He's got 2 books, well, that I know of. Healing Oils of the Bible and Chemistry of Essential Oils Made Simple. And that's probably where this is from, talking about cellular memory. But Chemistry of Essential Oils Made Simple is really, really good because it breaks down and it shows like why do the oils work. He talks about that. Each receptor site has a specific function and a lock that requires a specific key for a hormone. Okay, this was amazing. Or other information carrying molecules to pass its information to a cell. It has to hold the right key. This is why a specific hormone can circulate throughout the body and affect only the cells for which the key was designed to fit. Okay, so all cells have this memory, right? And they have like a specific opening, and there's a specific key that has to fit into that opening. And so again, where you can have things in your body, it only accepts certain things. And so this is where we were talking about, you know, certain emotions or certain hormones. These cells, there are certain things that are supposed to go together. Okay, so the next thing she talked about was a lot of times these receptor sites can be clogged up with crap. Okay, and it's usually our own doing. It's usually because of, you know, our thoughts and things like that. Okay, and you want to clean those receptor sites out, because until you clean out the receptor site, what's supposed to fit in there can't go. If it's got all sorts of mud, you know, if you've got a lock and it's full of mud and you try and stick a key in there, it's not going to work. You're not going to be able to use it because it's full of mud. It won't even go in right. So what you need to do is you need to clean out that receptor site. This is where oils come into play. Oils that have high phenol count in them, which a lot of your citrus oils are like this, phenols literally clean out the receptor sites. Okay? Sesquiterpenes are the next thing. They erase the miswritten code in the cells. Remember I talked about how, Vanessa talked about, this is all her stuff. Vanessa talked about how thinking about things can literally change your DNA, you can imprint things on your cells. So phenols clean it out, sesquiterpenes can erase the miswritten code, and then monoterpenes can recreate new programming in the cells. So awesome. So if you have the blue reference book or the purple reference book now, those books, they break the compounds down, and so they can tell you which, what percentage of phenols or sesquiterpenes or monoterpenes or whatever are in each oil. So you can literally look through your book and find the ones that are the highest in phenol, count, and monoterpenes and sesquiterpenes, stuff like that. So it's amazing. What are you growing? Okay, so she talked about how if you map your brain, and again, this is going to get into Caroline Leaf's stuff. When they look at positive thoughts, things look like trees in your brain, right? And so they have mapped positive thoughts, negative thoughts, and okay, so she says the thoughts we cycle grow like trees in the mind. The more attention you give to a thought, the stronger it becomes. So if you've got a negative thought that you are dwelling on, it can start to grow and get stronger and stronger. And if you're a Christian and you know anything about strongholds, this ties in really well. These thoughts are also present chemically in our cells, even from when we were in the womb. Your mind can change your brain. The thoughts you think about can literally change your brain. They have shown this to be true, and this is where Caroline Leaf talks tons about this. Like, you literally can change the way that your brain is wired. Neuroplasticity, that is where they used to think that the brain, like once someone had damage to a certain part of their brain, that they could never recover, that they could never create new synapses and new connections. And they have since realized that they're wrong, that your body is amazing. It is created to heal itself. and it wants to heal itself. It wants to bring itself back into homeostasis. And so we can do things to help it, or a lot of times we can do things that circumvent that process and that go around it and that actually hurt our body. But our body really does want to heal itself. And so your brain can heal itself. It can find new pathways, and it can actually go back and sometimes even fix the damaged ones. All right, so they've talked about how these trees, and she said that the maps, that when looking at maps of brains, when you're looking at negative thoughts, the tree-looking things are like ugly and gnarly, and they look all crazy. And then the positive ones, they're like they grow out, and they're like, I mean, they can't look bright, but there's dark spots on the negative ones, and the positive ones, they look like healthy trees, you know, like have a nice shape to them and stuff like that. If we can turn on a stress response just by thoughts alone, and these chemicals can make us sick, then by definition, our thoughts can make us sick. Isn't it? It's so amazing. And this is why I walked out of there last night like, oh my gosh, I felt so free. Our thoughts literally can make us sick. And again, you can read scientific research on this. This is not anything that Vanessa made up. It's not anything I'm making up. Literally, what you think about can make you sick. And this is why I walked out of there saying, I'm not going to be sick anymore. I am not going to feel like crap. I am not going to let my emotions and what a cortisol test say about me determine how I feel on a regular basis. 1 John 4:18, there is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear, because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears is not made perfect in love. I don't have to accept the fear. I can walk in love, and I was created for love, and that is just so freeing. Choose life. God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but a power, love, and a sound mind. Again, in the Bible it talks about, I've set before you life and death. Choose life. We have the choice to choose life. And then I can't read the rest of this slide, so I'm sure it was good, but I don't know what it says. Proverbs 16:24 was another one that she quoted. And so then she had this awesome chart where they took body temperature of like somebody's entire body, and they went through different emotions. And so the person was angry, and there's a body scan, and again, it's thermal, so you can just see temperature. And from here up, it is all red, and then the fists, and right here is yellow, like super hot. So like the fists are yellow. That's with anger, like they want to punch something. And then fear and disgust and happiness, sadness, surprise, neutral. And neutral was pretty much just black all the way. Anxiety, love, depression, contempt, pride, shame, envy. It's amazing. Depression, they were blue, like the arms, the legs, the head, and then there was like nothing all right here. Pride, from here up, was almost all yellow. Very, very interesting. Envy was red, just right here. So very, very interesting. Happiness, almost the whole body was red. The heart was yellow, and the head was yellow. So very cool. Emotional pain chart. So this is where she got in. She had a chart of a body, and talking about where we can physically hold pain, and sometimes where we forget about pain. Sometimes if you have pain in the same spot for a really long time, it's called localization, pain localization. You can forget where it is you're hurting, and you can actually like feel pain in a different spot that really isn't the issue. Have you ever been to like the chiropractor and you're like, my shoulder hurts, and they're like, oh, let me fix your knee, and you're like, wait, what? I said my shoulder, and they're like, your knee is gonna help that, and you're like, are you sure? And then they do it, and you're like, oh my gosh, my shoulder doesn't hurt anymore. And so it wasn't really that your shoulder hurt, it was actually something different, but your body was localizing the pain up in your shoulder when actually it was somewhere else. And so we can do the same thing with our emotions. Something can hurt so much that we push it down enough, or we ignore it enough, that something else will start to hurt, and maybe it's something physical. A trapped emotion, we have found, is literally a ball of energy, and these will lodge anywhere in the body and disrupt the normal energy field of the body. Okay, so she started talking about energy, and you can call it whatever you want. You can call it chakras, you can call it energy points. It doesn't really matter, because the truth is they have found that you have energy points in your body. And if energy is not able to flow, from the top down and then back up again, freely all throughout the body, you can have physical things wrong with you, you can have mental things wrong with you. And so allowing energy to be able to flow, again, your thought life. Like, you don't have to see somebody special for this. Now, man, those people are awesome, and I highly recommend them. If you've got somebody that does energy work that you trust, I've got an amazing chiropractor that I trust. He's a Christian man, and he is awesome. He can do all sorts of energy work, and anything from, sometimes he will, have me tap on certain places, or all the way to, he will have me, go meet Jesus in my mind, and we'll, Jesus and I will powwow about an emotion that I'm holding on to, and I give it to Jesus, and I accept what he wants to give me. It's crazy. I do this in my chiropractor's office. Like, it's pretty awesome. So emotions may harm you, and holding on to them, right? So this is another thing, that you can hold different emotions in different organs. Anger is typically stored in the liver. And so if you've got an issue with anger, putting oils over your liver is a really good place to start. Release is a really common one that people will take, and they will put it over their liver just on a daily basis. Stress can be held in the heart and the brain. Worry can be held in the stomach. Grief can be held in the lungs. Fear in the kidneys. So for these issues, good oils for anger are release and cedarwood. I would apply those over the liver. For grief, which is your lungs, you can put that valor and bergamot. Oh, there's no N. It's bergamot. Anybody else say bergamot? Because it's not. It's bergamot. Kind of like sherbet. It's not sherbet ice cream. It's sherbet ice cream. Anyway. So bergamot. Bergamot is a very uplifting and happy oil. If you've never diffused it, I highly recommend it. It's a really good oil for that. Valor and bergamot. Worry, you can use joy and cedarwood. Stress, you can use valor and orange or stress away. And then fear, harmony, and bergamot are both really good oils. And these are not like you have to use these oils, they're just recommended. Use what you have, because they will probably work, okay? There are far better things ahead than any we have left behind. C.S. Lewis said that. And so moving into the present time instead of living in the past is always a good idea. Present time is a fantastic oil. I love the smell of it. So then she went into the oils in the feelings kit, and she talked a little bit about each one, how to apply them, that kind of a thing. Honestly, I would say get the feelings kit, because there's a whole CD in there that describes where to put them. Gary talks all about how he came up with these oils, why he came up with them, what they do, how they work, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so the feelings kit will tell you a little bit about where you can apply them. Honestly, I think that if you would, like, here's something really cool that you can do. Take your oils, set them all out, and each day ask, what oils do I need to apply today? And I bet one or two will really stand out. Maybe there are oils you don't even like the smell of, but you're drawn to that oil that particular day, and you're like, okay, whatever. Okay, ask where you're supposed to put it. Hold on, my battery's getting low here. Ask where you're supposed to put it. Just because it's where somebody else puts it or where the recommended place is, doesn't mean that's where you have to put it. Hey, where am I supposed to put this oil? Oh, good. You're so welcome, Anna. Thanks for watching. So yeah, ask where you're supposed to put it. Again, it doesn't matter where other people say. If God tells you you're supposed to put it on the back of your neck or your wrists, or you're supposed to take it with you and smell it every 30 minutes, do it. Because, every person's body is different, and, what might work for you might not work for someone else. So, do what you can. Don't feel bound by, a protocol that someone else has set up. But if you're lost and you just want to follow somebody else's protocol, you can totally do that. I bet you could probably Google Feelings Kit Young Living and find out some information. So Valor is the first oil in the Feelings Kit. It says, choose the encouragement to change, or the courage to change. Believe and Palmarosa have been my crack right now. They've helped me get through some serious emotions. Yeah, Believe is awesome. I have it in my desk. It is one that I put on typically when I'm going to work. So Believe, Build Your Dream, and then I have this focus blend that I made, and I put that on the back of my neck. I diffuse this usually and put it on my wrists, and then Believe sometimes on the front of my neck or on my wrists. Believe has a lot of frankincense in it. Frank is an amazing emotional oil, and I love Believe. All right, so Valor's for courage. Yeah, I love my focus blend. You can just use cedar, vetiver, and lavender. That's a really good focus combo. This one has like clarity and, I don't know, common sense, and it's got some other ones in it too that I found somewhere. Yeah, vetiver, cedarwood, and lavender. It's an awesome combo. I use it on my girls a lot when we're homeschooling. Harmony is the next one. Balance the energy and emotional, balance energy and emotional pain localization. So again, harmony is a really good one. Harmony you can apply over the belly button. I have a friend who swears whenever they take car trips, everybody gets harmony over the belly button, and it makes for a much more peaceful ride. Forgive, the biblical principle directly related to spiritual and emotional freedom. Forgiveness. This is kind of one of those, like, if you know you need to, but you don't really want to, this is a good one. Or maybe you just feel stuck and you don't know why. This would be a great one to try. And, you know, to pray about in your meditation times, like, God, is there someone I'm not forgiving me? Because forgiveness puts you in chains. Really? Oh, where is mine? I don't remember what it smelled like. Oh, I like that. I hate to peel off the label because then it never goes back. Hate that. Okay, I'm not going to. Oh, there's a ton of oils in forgiveness. She has that. She had it on the slide here. There's a bunch. Yeah, forgiveness. Like, why am I stuck? Is there somebody I need to forgive? Anyway. Oh, why is it? Okay. Present time is the next one. Don't build off the past, but work on it from the present. I love present time. It smells so good. I used to wear this as a perfume a lot. But it's really good at helping you focus on the here and now. Release. Speak truth about the way out of this emotional pattern with prayer, meditation, and scripture. What is on the other side? Journal it, speak it out, let it go, and release it. This is a really good one for hurts and traumas and things that you didn't have any control over. Write those things down. Anoint it with release, or put release on yourself. Whatever you need to do to let those things go and to forgive the other person. What I was saying is, when you choose not to forgive someone, you are chaining yourself to them. And until you choose to forgive, you're not going to be let go and released from it. Release. Emotional patterns take time to change. Deep-rooted emotions will require time and attention and prayer. Changing a pattern is like erasing a groove. We just talked about this. The deeper it's embedded, the longer it takes to change. I must have heard that subconsciously last night because I totally don't remember that. Yeah, the groove. And you're going to have to practice not thinking about those things and not thinking those toxic things. So then she did a picture of the ear, and the picture of the ear and the emotional points on it. You can find this in your reference books, but mother and father wounds, or mother and father issues, are at the top of the ear. Down here is vision, heart, open, those kinds of things. Okay, so what's in forgiveness? Melissa, sesame seed oil, geranium, frank, sandalwood, coriander, angelica, and lavender. Those are some good oils. Anyway, so you can apply oils to the ear. She talked about how, do you guys keep getting kicked off? Because some of you come in and out. Maybe I'm just being long-winded and you're not able to watch the whole thing, but I wasn't sure if maybe it's a internet issue. You got kicked off? Hopefully it'll be on the replay, because that will be sad. Latest favorite, believe, valor, gratitude, and abundance. Awesome. All right, so your ears. And it talks about in the Bible applying oils to the tips of the ears before they would go into the different places. Oh, that's what's in the other oils that are also in forgiveness. So there was a whole nother list. Palmarosa, helichrysum, bergamot, all those. Tons of oils in forgiveness. Anyway, so they used to literally apply oils on the ear back in biblical times. And then the last one in the feelings kit is inner child. And I liked the way this one smelled too. Find out who you are. Inner child can help us reconnect to who God created us to be. How many of you would say that as a child you had dreams, you had visions of what you wanted your life to be, and where you're at now, 16 oils in forgiveness. It's an amazing one. Another one that has a bazillion oils? Hope. Bam. This one is amazing. And I've actually already peeled this one away, so I don't mind peeling it again. Hope is amazing. It's also very precious. Oh no, it's harmony. Harmony is the one that has so many. Hope is good. It's got sweet almond, juniper, myrrh, spruce, maybe that's it. Oh, and Melissa. But Harmony was the one that has a ton of oils, and it's so good. Okay. How many of you would say that you had dreams and vision, like things you wanted to do as a child, and you can say your life right now looks nothing like that? Inner child can help you kind of reconnect with those things, and maybe it can help spark something that you totally forgot about, you know, that was a dream that God gave you a long time ago, and you've forgotten it. It's been, you know, crushed so many times. You know, people have told you couldn't do it. I would say we probably all do, and if you say no, you just forgot. And you really need inner child. You just forgot those dreams, and that happens because life happens. And you know, either other people tell us we can't do them, or we tried and it failed. But putting inner child on can really help us become more childlike. You know, the Bible talks about how good that is to be like a child, to come to God like a child, and with that expectation. And so inner child is fantastic for you, for your kids. You know, there are times where I want my children to be more innocent. You know, something will happen to them and it's like, oh, I wish I could protect you from these things that you're going to experience in life, because I know that they're going to get hurt, and I know that they're going to have, you know, their dreams crushed. Harmony has 17. I know, it's incredible. And Harmony is a little bit less expensive. You get a 15 ml bottle for like $60, I think. Hope is like a 5 ml bottle for like 70, I think. Anyway, and so then they talked about the Great Day Protocol, and I love this protocol. It's got White Angelica, Joy, Valor, and Harmony, and that is an amazing protocol to put on every single morning. Oh, that's a really good idea, inner child. So if there's trauma, trauma from your childhood, I don't know that I would maybe do inner child. I would maybe wait on that one. Any kind of trauma, this is an amazing oil, Sarah, or Trauma Life, which I'm not sure if you can still get Trauma Life, but Sarah is a really good one for emotional traumas and abuse and stuff like that. But inner child, that's a great idea, you know, if you know that there's things, you know, from your childhood that you, dreams that you had that you want to kind of connect with, that would be a really cool one to diffuse at night. I know. But see, and she said she had nightmares first, and now she's having release dreams. Really cool. Yeah, that's cool. And you know, the thing about nightmares, like, sometimes, I won't say always, but sometimes, again, they're messengers. They're there to, like, you know, again, with the movie Inside Out, like, she was having nightmares because of things that she wasn't able to deal with when she was awake. And so, like, if you have those nightmares, take those to God. Start using your oils. Like, what is this thing trying to tell me? And start to deal with, like, the underlying issue there. And I can't guarantee, but I'm pretty sure that you will those nightmares will go away, because again, they're messengers. They're trying to tell you something. That movie was so deep, so deep. I think, like, it was totally an adult movie. It was so not a kid's movie. And it was awesome. Yeah. So the oils, like, they really can, like, they're cheaper than therapy. Okay. Even the most, like, Rose. Okay. You could have like 4 therapy sessions and Rose would, like, pay for itself, right? So I mean, not that, but like even the most expensive oils, like, okay, let's go this way, the Feelings Kit. I don't remember how much it is. Can somebody remind me? Is it like 150-ish maybe, for the 6 oils that come in the Feelings Kit? Okay, you literally could spend that easy in like 2 counseling sessions, and I can guarantee this, you will get more than 2 counseling sessions worth of information from these oils if you start to use them on a regular basis. And you really, like, even if you would just take 30 minutes a day, and yeah, 170-ish, if you would just take 30 minutes a day, apply these oils, meditate, pray, ask, you know, what do I need to remember? What do I need to learn? Who do I need to forgive? You know, what do I need to release? What's from my childhood that, you know, I need to remember? Yeah, you come out feeling hopeful, and you don't have to deal with healthy insurance or with expensive insurance, right? So, like, people talk about how expensive these oils are sometimes, and I'm like, no, they're not. They keep us healthy. They keep us, like, well. They keep me well, not only in my physical body, but, like, also in my mind. And what is that worth? Again, that statistic that said 87% of our physical health is in our thought life. That's just crazy amazing. And again, you can't afford not to have them. So true. So you cannot change what you refuse to confront. That's so good. Sometimes good things fall apart so better things can fall together. Sometimes. Life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it. So true. There's 10%, like, you cannot control everything that happens in your life, but you can every time control your reaction to it. And that is not to say that you can't have a period of, grief or sadness or anger or any of those things for a while. That is really healthy to let yourself feel those emotions. But there comes a certain point where you have to decide how you're going to think. And by deciding how you're going to think about things, you decide how you feel. I am not grateful that my son died. I'll never be grateful that my son died. But I am grateful for the lessons that we learned through his life and through his death. I'm grateful for the people that I have come into relationship with, both through his life and his death. I met some amazing people in the mitochondrial disease world. I met some amazing people in the grief loss, or the loss, child loss. That's the word, the child loss world. I've met some amazing people. I can be grateful for some of the things that, I have learned. But I still don't have to be grateful that he died. And again, being able to understand that, and knowing that God was still faithful through it all. He walked with us every step of the way. He never left us. Doesn't mean that my life will be perfect. That is never guaranteed in the Bible, that everything will go great and I won't have any hardships. In fact, we're guaranteed hardships in life. And so how are you going to respond to that? Take your period of mourning and grief and, let yourself feel those things. And then at some point, when you feel released to do so, there's so much healing in sharing your testimony. When you feel released, like, okay, it's time, then you can start to decide what it is you're going to think, and thereby changing how you feel about certain things. And, it's okay that I still cry about my son. I will always cry, about not having my son here with me to hold. And, but that doesn't debilitate me. It's a sadness for, yes, what I've lost, also what I've experienced, and the good things that I experienced, and how much I loved him. But again, I'm not going to live in that 24/7. I do have a choice to, again, take the things that I learned, take the good things, and to dwell on those things, and to dwell on how much I loved him. So anyway, okay. Hope that was for somebody out there. If you don't like something, change it. Yes, for sure. If you can't change it, change the way you think about it. So true. You do not have to be a victim, okay? There are times where things happen that you did not have control over something. And again, there is a time to mourn for that and to be sad. But if you couldn't change it, you can change the way you think about it. And this is something that our church does a freedom ministry stuff about. And one of the things they talk about is think about a time where you were a victim, or where you were hurt really bad. And you kind of go back to that place in your mind, and then you ask God, where were you? Jesus, where were you in that moment? And every time someone has done this thing, this exercise, it is amazing what they learn from it. The enemy uses triggers to try and bring you back into that bondage when that loss happened. Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's been amazing where God has been in those moments, and being able to, instead of focusing on what happened, being able to focus on God and know that he was there in that moment. And many times he was crying along with you. And, he hated that you had to walk through that, but he was still there. And that has brought freedom for so many people. Just seeing where God was in those awful moments of their life. And, until we get to heaven, life will not be perfect. God never promises to save us from every single, bad thing that happens. And it's because people have free will, and other people have the choice to hurt us. And, maybe it's by their words, maybe it's by their actions. It hurts nonetheless. And, sticks and stones can break my bones, words will never hurt me is a huge, big old fat lie. And words do hurt, and it's okay that they hurt. But at some point we're going to have to let go, we're going to have to forgive, we're going to have to release, and we're going to have to walk forward from that. You can't start the next chapter of your life if you keep rereading your last one. So true. So true. I know. That's right. You are not a victim. I was victimized, but I am a victor. And, he that is in you is greater than he that's in the world. And we know the end of the story. We know that we win. And, you don't have to let yourself be a victim here. And your thought life is the biggest way you can let yourself become a victim. And you have total control over that. And unfortunately, you're the only one that has control over that. And until you decide to change your mind, nobody else can do it for you. But when you decide to change your mind, again, you were in the driver's seat of that situation. Changing your mind, you were in the driver's seat, and you can do it. And this is where, again, feed good things into your mind. Have books that you are meditating on morning and night. Have these oils that you are, you're smelling. Raise your frequency. One of the biggest things, be conscious of what you are thinking about. That is such a huge thing. Be conscious of what you are thinking about. Even when you're driving, what are you thinking about? When somebody cuts you off, what do you think about? Do you you quit, and start, yelling and cussing at them? Bam, immediately you have produced toxic, hormones and chemical reactions and things in your brain. Now, don't let this put you into bondage, thinking that, oh my gosh, I just thought something bad. Again, don't give your thoughts that kind of power. Just because you thought something bad doesn't mean that that's the end all. Create new connections and synapses and responses and start, create new grooves. Smell a couple oils and start thinking positive things. One of the things that really helped me was when I was going through some of my grief, I ran into some really rude people. Not ran into literally, but on a phone call and some other things. And it really hit me they didn't know what I was dealing with, because, it's not like it was I had to call a company or something for something. And the lady was just super rude and very unhelpful. And I thought, if she only knew what I was dealing with. My son died a week ago, and I'm trying to call about, something to get something arranged. I don't remember what it was. But I just had this thought, she has no idea what I'm dealing with. And immediately I got this compassion, because I thought, I wonder what she's dealing with. So many of us walk around with huge hurts and things that nobody else knows about. And it gave me a compassion and an empathy for people, wondering wow, I wonder what they're going through. And so, when somebody speeds past you on the freeway and cuts you off, sometimes I'm I wonder where they're racing off to. Maybe they're racing to the hospital to see somebody before they die. Maybe, you never know what people are doing, and you can choose to think positive about that and pray for them. God, please let them get wherever it is they're going safely, because they are driving like a maniac. You can choose to be positive about things. And that's right. You can choose to speak blessings over people and not speak curses and not, cuss them out, because again, you are causing toxic things to happen in your brain when you give them that kind of power. And this is something else that we learned a long time ago in counseling. You can give people your power when you give them the ability to, okay, so for example, when I get into the victim role, I'm giving away my power. I am letting somebody else choose, kind of my future. And not that I'm being a victim in that, I'm never speaking up for myself, or I'm letting them make all the choices, but I do that in the way that I react. And we do this so many more times than we actually realize. We give people power and people control. For example, when my daughter might come up to me and Mom, 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 and I go, what? What do you need? Why are you, and I explode. I have just given away my power. I have just let her determine my actions and my response. And I can blame her for that. When you're calling my name all the time, it makes me, no. That's giving away my power. Instead, I don't have to be the victim. I can take control, and I can say, hey, babe, hold on 1 second. Or I can even tell her, hey, babe, when you call my name over and over and over, that really frustrates me. Can you just say my name one time and then wait? That is an example of being a powerful person. Okay, here's a book for you. Danny Silk, Keep Your Love On. Just remembered this book. That book is so stinking amazing for teaching you how to be a powerful person and not powerless. He defines it better than I have ever heard it before. My husband and I were like, oh my gosh, this is so good, because so many times we think that people who like control, we think they're powerful. People who are loud, Silk, Danny Silk, S-I-L-K. Keep Your Love On. Find him on Facebook. Oh my gosh, he gives the best one-liners. That book is like 100 counseling sessions. Cheapest counseling you will ever find in your entire life. Like the first couple pages, my husband and I, like, it was reminiscent of some of the best counseling that we have ever had way back, 12 years ago. Yeah, go get that book. It is so, so good. So he talks about how powerful people, sometimes we think people are powerful because they yell or because they're very controlling or manipulative, when in fact, those are the people that are the most powerless because they don't actually know how to take responsibility for their decisions and for their actions, and they blame other people. They're constantly giving their power away to other people. And so, gosh, I've been talking for a very long time, and this went a completely different direction than I intended it to. But that's what happens. Thoughts, just keep going. And this is the Danny Silk was incredible. So anyway, yeah, the Caroline Leaf, and this is the other book that she talked about that I'm going to have to use some more because I don't really know how to use it very well. Releasing Emotional Patterns with Essential Oils. Again, those grooves, those patterns that we have gotten ourselves into. I think I'm pretty deep into some patterns. And so I'm going to look. Bullies are typically incredibly insecure. So true. So true. And that's another thing that, like, I'm going to have to talk to my kids about someday. I know it. Like, bullies don't know who they are a lot of times, and they have to exercise control over someone else because they don't know how to control themselves. And, so that's a really crappy lesson to learn. And again, my kids probably aren't going to, oh, hey, Kathy. Oh, my kids are not going to understand it completely, but it doesn't mean that I can't speak truth and start speaking understanding and be willing to answer their questions, whenever they have them. That is something, promoting a good environment with your kids from a very young age will help to promote a good environment and a healthy, open environment later on when they start to, encounter some of these crazy things that life is going to throw at them, because we know it's going to happen. They're going to, have hurts and traumas and all these kinds of things. And so starting a good dialogue when they're young and encouraging them to come to you and to talk through problems is a really good idea. And the oils play an amazing, amazing part of that, because like Vanessa talked last night, she's like, you can start to diffuse oils in the room where your kids are, and like it can start to unlock things in their brain, and you never, like, they could come to you and be like, hey mom, what happened with this? Like maybe they have a memory that they don't really understand, or they remember something but it's not completely true. Sometimes that happens. Like our mind plays tricks on us, and maybe something hurt too much, and like we remember it totally different than somebody else. And so like this is a really good way to start some dialogue with your kids, is just diffuse it or put them on, put the oils on them. And I love to have guinea pigs and start doing things. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Well, this is so much fun. And again, this is something that I'm walking out. Beginning to walk out in my life, and I've had so many of these books for so long and just have never picked them up. And that's one of the things that I'm going to do, is I'm going to make time to read books, because my business has been crazy with Young Living lately, and I have not made time for meditation and for prayer and for reading. And oh good, Anna, you are so welcome. And I'm going to do that because it's really important, and this stuff is worth reading, and it's so good. Again, solidifying these beliefs. And so, all right, y'all. Well, I'm going to hop off and I'm going to go eat dinner with my family. Feel free to share this scope. It'll be obviously on Periscope for 24 hours, but then my Catch account is just a website, and it automatically saves all of my Periscopes forever. So you can go there. Most of my Periscopes are business related. Okay, so this is the website, catch.me/JessJacobs117. And then the girl who taught this last night, Vanessa Stegner, that's her. Look her up. Yes, we must, Melissa. Vanessa Stegner, and she's on Periscope, she's on Facebook. The Oil Releaser is her other name. But I think if you just search her name on Periscope, you can find her, and she talks a lot about emotions and just different things. Cypress was a big oil for her. So if you didn't see at the beginning, before I say goodbye. So I just pulled out a whole bunch of emotional oils that I had. Do you notice what color all these are? They're all purples, which I thought was very interesting. And some would say that the oils relate to different energy points in your body, and so I'm not sure which one purple does. Here's some other emotional oils. They're different colors, but use what you have. Lemon, frankincense, stress away, lavender. Those are great ones to start with, and all those come in your starter kit. So you don't have to, go out and get them all. Cypress is strong. You don't have to go out and buy them all. But the feelings kit is another great one. One of the tips that I shared earlier, save up your ER points for the kits. The raindrop kit, golden touch kit, feelings kit, oils of ancient scripture. Those are all kits that Young Living has. So save up your ER points and use them on like the feelings kit. That's a great way. They're all 5 ml bottles, so that's a great way to get like a whole bunch of different oils. So that was what I did in the beginning. Then I got my Aroma Complete for hitting silver in 6, and that's how I have all these oils. All right, y'all. I'm going to take off. Thank you so much for watching, and like I said, share with your peeps because every single person could benefit from some emotional healing. Like I said, if you've been alive longer than actually probably, a couple minutes, you have some emotional stuff that you could probably deal with. And so this is where, if you've got skeptics in your life who don't want to use the oils for better physical wellness, they could use it for better emotional wellness. And even if they don't believe you, it doesn't matter. Give them some oils and say, here, apply this, put this release over your liver and see what happens. You don't even have to tell them, just here, see what happens with this. And I bet it'll be really interesting, the stories. So I'm excited to share stories with you guys as I continue to use my oils and spend more time meditating and all that kind of stuff. So, all right, y'all have an awesome night. A lot of people are afraid of the emotional oils, and it's really because we don't understand them. Like, why would I want this oil, and what's it going to do, right? But understanding so much, it brings things to light, and it takes the weirdness out of it, and it really does oh, wow, these can really work, and these can really make a difference in my life. Yeah, choose not to be a slave to fear today, guys. All right, bye.